Welcome everybody to the first of a video blog that I'm working on as part of Rick's Media Picks for the month. I'm really pleased to be joined by Chris Erwin, who's the CEO and founder of Rockwater. Rockwater provides research and strategy advisory for the media, technology, and commerce industries. Rockwater is also a media brand with a growing portfolio of content to help leaders and investors build smarter. Chris's nearly 20 years of executive experience spans New Hollywood, venture capital, and investment banking. He was also named by Variety as one of Hollywood's new digital leaders. Personally, he likes to chase international surf. Got to talk to you a little bit about the X Games. Take it to the backcountry, powder, interview founders for his podcast, and visit estate sales. And I'm really pleased to have Chris join us today.
Awesome. Rick, really pumped to be here. Thanks for having me on this.
Thanks, Chris. Tell us what took you from Hollywood to creating Rockwater.
Yeah, let me start with explaining the quick overview of Rockwater and then my journey to get where I now am today. So Rockwater has a really simple mission. We strive to service the world's most ambitious and invested leadership that's operating at the intersection of media, technology, and commerce. And so where we are particularly adept is we help our clients activate brand, talent, and IP to launch new businesses, drive more revenue, and because we have some banker and investor blood amongst our ranks, we also do M&A advisory and capital raising. So we work with a really broad range of clients, from large to small. So Fortune 50 companies like Google and YouTube, to some of the biggest networks and studios in the world like ViacomCBS and Warner Media, big talent personalities like Conan O'Brien and Team Coco, to the Property Brothers from HGTV, to increasingly retailers that are looking at content and media to fuel different ways to grow their business, and also with a lot of digital media upstarts as well. So to put it simply, in a way, we're developing a reputation as being the McKinsey and the Goldman Sachs for the creator economies. That's really our niche and specialty. And in addition to that, we very much believe in this ethos of positive sum building. So based on a lot of our learnings and the client work that we do, we publish a lot of our industry intelligence and make it publicly accessible. So we write a few different newsletters. We have a handful of different podcasts that interview different up and coming founders and talk about of the moment news. We also have an extensive blog on our website that tracks different capital flows in different industries, like in audio and podcasting, live stream selling, and much more. And that's in the spirit of like, let's go arm in arm and we can all build together better and everyone wins. And in addition to that, as we think about where we're growing, our core business is really market research and advisory. But, we're increasingly getting a lot of inbounds from our clients that are telling us, what does Web3 mean for us? What does digital goods and NFTs mean for us? And for us to learn, we need to put our money where our mouth is. So we've done a lot of research, we've written about it, but just this year, we're actually launching a digital goods investment fund. So we can understand what does the landscape look like? And then in addition, what is the actual utility of all of these different products? What are the different commercial exploitation to fund the business models of the modern content and commerce companies? So we actually have our first investment committee meeting in a couple hours, which I'm pretty pumped about. So that's Rockwater in a nutshell. Now, how did I get here? I'll give you my quick backstory. So I'm originally an East Coast kid, right? And I grew up on the East Coast, like many, thinking that finance is the be all and end all of everything. So I went to Wall Street and I did investment banking and TMT for about 5 years. I probably took 7 years off my life doing that, Rick. I was working like 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. for every day of the week for 5 years straight. But I learned a lot and developed a great Rolodex. And in the last couple of years I was there, I was focused in our digital media group. We were helping a digital music distributor on the West Coast raise capital. Now, this was a young management team doing something disruptive, working their asses off, having a great time. And I was like, that's fun. I want to do that. So I quit my banking job, went to business school at Kellogg in Chicago, and did a few internships on the West Coast. But I also worked for Pritzker Capital, which was an early investor in the creator economy and digital video ecosystem. They had invested in Big Frame and Awesomeness TV. So right after business school, I went and joined Big Frame. They had received funding from the Google Original Channels program, and I helped launch 5 different content brands. long story short, hired my former investment bank to sell Big Frame to Awesomeness TV, which was owned by DreamWorks at the time, and then joined that rocket ship for a few years, which was super fun. Learned a lot about creators and talent and brands and everything digital video. And then I had heard a couple of things while I was there, Rick. One, Chris, you build sustainably towards real revenue and profit. And I saw a lot of other companies and operators that had these great visions, but were just burning a bunch of investor capital. And I was like, no, we can be better, right? We saw a lot of fire sales, and it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Two, I was told I was really collaborative to work with, didn't have sharp elbows like the rest of Hollywood. So because of those two dynamics, I was asked to advise a lot of companies. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. This is a unique moment in time. Let me start my own advisory business. This is back in 2017. And so the early days of Rockwater were born. And since then, I've built out a team that is across the East and the West Coast. And yeah, we work with all different clients and we love what we do. And part of that is that we want to drive better value for creators and the modern digital video economy. And that's what we do. So now I can, hopefully it's a helpful background and I can talk a little bit about some of the evolutions that we've seen.
No, it definitely is. And what I've been impressed with that, and I came across you through LinkedIn, did some research on you, and then started to, get the newsletter regularly, and really impressed with your thinking in terms of all these different shifts and pivots into various new economies. And you talk about, 2020 being kind of, or 2021, 2021 and 22 kind of going from the passion economy to the ownership economy, all part of this creator world. And I'm curious how you look at those shifts in the dynamic. What is happening at these companies? What is happening in the marketplace that gives you kind of this, again, the numbers are the numbers, and you can get into some of these numbers, but how do you look at this in terms of the macro and then starting to dig in underneath all of that?
Yeah. And I got to give a call out to my team here because yes, we publish a lot of content about our thinking in the space because we write to think. There's so much noise out there that we actually have to sit down for our newsletter, for our LinkedIn or our blog post and say, what is all this activity? And we have weekly group discussions on it. And then we say, what are the data points that matter and where is this headed? And only by putting pen to paper do I think we actually get some interesting ideas that we can then bring to our industry community and our clients. And I give Andrew Cohen is a really deep thinker with us, Mike Booth, Alex Siren, and more. So it takes a village. It's not all me, to be clear. But that being said, so what is the shift, right? We talk about the attention economy to the passion economy, and then now to the ownership economy. So what does that mean? Well, I think in the classic attention economy, if you think about the traditional linear entertainment distribution models, right? So you have linear TV and radio and film. You aggregate a bunch of audience and reach, and then you sell that to advertisers. And then over the past 10 to 15 years, there was the whole digital disruption, right? So you saw Google aggregating attention for websites and internet traffic. You saw YouTube aggregating all consumer demand for UGC video. And then they created these incredible business models where with all that aggregated reach, these platforms would sell that reach to advertisers. And then the creators that were early part of that ecosystem, they got to participate in that through a different rev share, like on AdSense for YouTube, or increasingly doing direct deals with brands and marketers. But you saw these creator businesses were 100% funded by advertising. And then some challenges started to emerge, right? All these new platforms and all these new creators and publishers and personalities started to enter into the fray. So then all of that audience attention gets fragmented. And that was tough for creators. But there were new ways that allowed them to succeed. So there's a dynamic where fans wanted to go deeper with the brands and the creators that they loved. So that created a new opportunity. And so what we then saw was all these new tools and all these new technologies, both from upstarts and the big incumbents, start to be introduced that allowed these fans to go, or allowed these brands and creators to go deep with their fans. And that is what we call the passion economy. And we really saw that emerge over the past couple of years. So just to talk about some specific numbers of what happened here, we saw $4 billion, I think last year, or last couple of years, invested in the creator economy. This is going into tools like Patreon and Cameo and OnlyFans and Ghost Kitchen startups that really brought all these new revenue streams and ways to interact with fans to all of the entire new creator class. And then in addition to that, we also saw all of the major incumbents launching new tools and products to better service their fans as well, right? So Facebook launched tipping and subscriptions and social commerce like Facebook and Instagram Shop. You saw Twitter launching social audio, almost like a Clubhouse clone, and newsletters. They made an acquisition from Review to do that. TikTok was launching Shopify-powered storefronts and live stream shopping capabilities, like all these incredible things. And so what we started to see was revenues from creators and brands start to be 50% advertising and then 50% from these other direct to consumer and other business lines. So there's been great examples of that, right? You saw Mr. Beast. He launched Mr. Beast Burger. So he could have gone and done a brand marketing relationship with McDonald's or Burger King, but he's like, no, I'm going to give my fans my own food and product experience. So he used ghost kitchens and his massive media following to go and do that. That's forecasted to be over a $300 million business, and he's expanding this year. Incredible, right? You saw Via and the Lipstick King, two major personalities in China, built out these massive branded live stream selling storefronts. And within single streams, they're doing over $8 billion in gross merchandise volume. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Now, there's some challenges in China coming from like the top-down regulators clamping down on the creator economy class. That's a whole separate conversation. Mm-hmm. Other things you see athletes like LeBron, right? So many opportunities coming his way, but he wants to own more of the upside. So he launches Spring Hill Entertainment, his own media and production company that just got an investment and valued at over $700 million, right? Incredible. A couple others, you saw Complex that really built out a fandom in hip hop and streetwear and street culture. And yeah, now they're a fully diversified business. They have ComplexCon, their own e-commerce stores. They have a B2B consulting and market research agency. They built out their own metaverse activation. They have branded food products like Hot Ones, educational classes to help both consumers and brands launch their own streetwear products. It's just amazing, right? So like this list completely goes on and on. But then what we started to see was the emergence of the ownership economy, which is like a derivative of the passion economy. But I'm going to stop there. Should I keep flowing into that? Or
listen, I think we see, from our perspective as an executive talent firm, we see many of these athletes and teams and media companies creating their own media content engines. Yeah. They want to own their content. They are all becoming content companies. So they're looking for talent to position themselves and prepare themselves to develop more content for direct to consumer. Now, from now on, you don't have to go to a league. You can go right to the individual team, right to the individual player. So we're actually seeing that. And from a lifestyle brand perspective, we saw that at both, when I was at Univision and ESPN, where those brands were bigger than their media presence. They were a lifestyle brand for many people. So I get this passion, but now to get into the ownership economy, now the business model is changing. Now you want to get that direct connection to a consumer because you want to have that one-to-one relationship. Is that what you're seeing with the ownership economy?
Yeah, that's right. We're seeing this. We're seeing with the ownership economy, we saw these incredible capital flows into Web3, right? Into blockchain, into digital goods, into NFTs in 2021 that we were totally not expecting to see, right? It blew us away. So because in 2020, we saw some incredible tailwinds. Things that were already happening in e-commerce were pulled forward, right? In 2020, it was like a 35% growth in e-commerce. And then in 2021, it was like 16%. And that really powered these new direct-to-consumer businesses I just talked about. But yeah, with the proliferation of Web3, you're starting to see this notion of blending the lines between creators and fans and communal ownership of the fandom, which is really, really exciting because we think that creates a better fan and consumer experience and more ways for both consumers and creators to make money in a way that's more equitable and aligned together. So a few ways that's like manifesting across a few different categories. Like in music, now the fans can actually participate in some of the commercial exploitation of the underlying music and rights. So I was just reading about a collaboration between artist, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Halik Mal, who partnered with Doomsday X. So he crowdfunded around $650,000 for a new upcoming video shoot that he's going to do. And then I think the fans are actually going to they're going to crowdfund the music video, also be able to direct and directly participate and guide what is the creative direction of that music video. And then the music that emerges from it, they're going to be able to participate in the upside wherever it's sold in streaming or retail locations and elsewhere. And because they're incented in the upside, they're going to lean in and become better ambassadors and marketers of that product. And then Halik, the artist, wins in a big way. Like, that's just incredible. And I saw that the Churning Group, I think, invested in that $1.5 million round into Doomsday, which is, I think, the platform that's powering that initiative. Another example, which I know it's going to get you excited, is like what's happening in sports, right? So I think we just saw that there was a capital raise of around $40 million for the new fan-controlled football league. And so with this league, this is so cool. So fans that are watching it on Twitch in real time, I think they're going to be calling each play live. And then in addition, the league is going to be selling NFTs and different tokens. And the owners of those tokens are going to be able to direct what are the different team names, what is the design of the logos for the teams, what are the new process, how do the clubs expand, what players are being drafted. I mean, what an incredible experience, right? So, and then I think I was interviewing Dave Sethi, who's the head of sports at Instagram, and he was talking about the new NIL rules, name, image, likeness for college athletes. He called this probably the biggest sports news of this generation, if not this century, because now college athletes can monetize the brands and the audiences that they've built. So yeah, you see Carmelo Anthony launching his own production company and LeBron launching Spring Hill. I think that's now going to be shifting, and you're going to see that happening with athletes much earlier on, launching their own investment funds, launching their own production companies, launching their own businesses, launching all these new startups, which is really, really cool. I don't know if you're seeing anything like similar.
Yeah, no, we are. We actually, we work with Overtime and on the creation of Overtime Elite, which is a new league that basically takes some of the top players on, pre-college, takes them at a very young age, brings them together, and creates a league around that can showcase their talent. Again, if they want to go to college, embark on college, they can. Otherwise, they have this, private kind of league that they could showcase their talent and potentially make a jump to directly to professional ball. So we're starting to see these new leagues, new business models evolve, and NIL, no question, is a game changer. And it even extends. There was a deal last week, I can't think of the athlete's name, a high school kid who is starting to take advantage of name, image, likeness. I think it's gone on too long where these student athletes have not been able to participate in that overall economy. And this is obviously a game changer for those thousands of student athletes who drive us to watch the games. No question about it. What do you see when you think about 2022? And as we kind of embark on this, obviously there's so much going on in the NFT space. What are your key themes that you see in 2022?
Yeah, I think, with NFTs and digital goods, I think the key theme that gets us most excited is these play to earn models, right? Or it's like what we call like X to earn. So this is happening a lot in the gaming space, right? Under some of the brands like under Animoca, which is a big gaming studio and blockchain developer, and they also have over 150 investments. They just announced a $360 million round last week, crazy. And then also like Axie Infinity, where if you're a gamer, the more that you engage with the platform, the more time that you spend on the platform, the more that you market it to other prospective peers, you get to participate in the upside of that engagement, where new tokens are gifted to you, new discounts and new exclusive access to different products within the gaming ecosystem. So this X to earn is really exciting, and I think an early mover in this space is Fox. Fox just launched a $100 million like digital good and NFT fund, where they're going to start exploring different models for how through NFTs can they power consumers of different Fox IP and media on their streaming services, on their television network, to get fans to lean in more and drive more value for Fox, but for the overall fandom as well. And I think that, that's part of this theme where we saw everyone talks about the legalization of gambling for sports. And everyone said, that's going to drive billions of dollars of revenue. It's going to be the biggest moneymaker. But I think that a lot of executives from the league said, we can't wait for the legalization of gambling. That's going to drive a lot more direct revenues from gambling participation. But their bigger win is the lean in and the engagement from fans. That engagement drives much more revenue, because if you got money on a game, you can bet your dollar you're going to be spending more time glued to your TV, glued to your mobile device, glued on Twitter, and that can be monetized incredibly with these new direct-to-consumer subscriptions or fan services. And also with all that lean in and added attention, brands are going to pay up big for that as well.
Do you think one of the things we always talked about at ESPN was the bundle, right? You're paying for a bundle of services. It was a great value. You're seeing that bundle break apart now to all these DTC, OTT products. So you're buying Disney Plus, you're buying Paramount Plus, you're buying, all these, Hulu, et cetera, et cetera. At some point, do you think we go back to the bundle, or do you think that's it? We're in a modular world now. Is the cost going to get back to the price of the bundle? Like, where do you see this going from an economic standpoint for the consumer?
Yeah, I think everyone saw, there was a lot of discussion on this over the past couple of years, that there was, okay, you start with the bundle, then it went to a la carte, as you said, Rick. And then I think people are starting to see, wait, well, when I add up all my streaming services and subscriptions, this is a lot more than the cable bundle that I had previously. And that's why you're starting to see some new fintech companies like Truebill and others start to add transparency as, here's how many subscriptions you actually have, right? And how do you actually start thinking about, how do you rationalize that? So yeah, I think that we are going to see a return of different bundles. But I think, yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I believe that there's still going to be tentpole like a Netflix that are the major aggregators. But then if you are a passionate sports fan, you're going to get ESPN Plus. If you have kids and you want some of that Disney IP, you're getting Disney Plus. And I think this, an interesting observation I saw is, I think what's going to be harder for these streamers is they're going to be able to build audience from their unique content libraries, but because it's getting so competitive, and that's why, the valuations for IP and all these content studios are going through the roof, which we've written extensively about, is that you'll be able to grow your subscriber base, but the operating profits are going to deteriorate because the cost to run these different streaming businesses are going to be more difficult. But that's why I think a company like Disney Plus is so empowered, because Netflix is making all of its revenues just right now from subscriptions. And that's why they have to keep raising prices, because their audience growth has slowed. But Disney makes money from their IP in so many different ways. And in reality, I think over 50% of Disney's revenues actually come from consumer products and licensing. And then they also got cruises, they got different event experiences, and they got a much more diversified business. So they can subsidize their streaming offering, which actually allows broader access of that IP. But then they're monetizing it a variety of different ways. And that's why I think with some of these companies like Netflix and maybe others that you mentioned, they're starting to launch new monetization pathways. Netflix has really leaned into doing merch and Netflix Shop, and doing these moment-driven drops of exclusive product around some of its key franchises like Squid Game and others. And then doing retail collaborations with Walmart or doing it on TikTok. Right. So I think we're going to see a lot more of diversification of business models of the streamers. I know it's a bit of a tangent of the bundle conversation, but something we're thinking about.
Right. And final question, from a talent recruitment standpoint, you interact with a lot of these companies. What will their needs be in terms of talent acquisition as they grow and they've got this hockey stick growth, right? This curve that's incredible right now. They're going to need additional talent to come into an organization to help it continue to grow on that trajectory, as well as to understand, the growth patterns, consumer patterns, marketing, technology. Where do you think the talent acquisition opportunities are there?
Yeah, it's really hard to find good talent, right? This whole emerging ecosystem of all these new creator economy tools with all these new platforms, this is a very nascent industry and it's evolving very quickly. So finding all the way from executives to junior personnel that have experience in building companies and in building teams and driving revenue across this ecosystem is really difficult. Yes, there's a lot of people that want to evolve their careers and move into these new emerging economies. But if you're looking for senior leadership that gets it and has done this before, those people are few and far between. So you need to find, the connectors like yourself and your firm that can actually find the good people that get it and place them to build businesses that are going to have long-term value.
Great. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can folks subscribe to your newsletter?
Yeah, so go to our website, wearerockwater.com, and you can subscribe for us there. And we love hearing from our readers and from different industry executives that have ideas or different ways to collaborate. So you can ping us at hello@wearerockwater.com.
Thanks, Chris. And I encourage you to get the newsletter. It's a great read. Appreciate the time today.
All right, very welcome. This was fun, Rick. Thank you.
Thanks so much.